Hello and welcome back. Today we look at missing Brits abroad. I won't be covering the most famous case of Madeleine McCann as there's already so much information and media out there. Recently, the case of Jay Slater took the British media by storm, and I thought it was important to shine a light on other cases that are still unsolved. On average, 600 Brits go missing while abroad every year. Most get resolved, but today we look at those still missing. So let's get into our video. 1. Kevin Ainley. Kevin was just 24 years old when he went missing. Originally from Fleetwood, he moved and worked in the area of Playa de las Americas in Tenerife. He disappeared from here on the 14th of June 2004. On that day in June, he was handing out flyers for the Sportsman Bar. He visited a few other bars with a friend and went to a Chinese buffet restaurant called Merlin's. He was last seen walking towards the bar he was handing out flyers for, the Sportsman. A missing person report was filed and the Spanish police did a full investigation. All his belongings were found in his apartment, including his passport, money, clothes and photos, but there has been no trace of him since. In 2018, the police made an appeal for information. They were keen to speak to anyone who may have witnessed an altercation between Kevin and door staff at the Caf Del Moor in the early hours of June 13th. He was described as being around 5 foot 8 inches with dark brown hair. He has distinctive tattoos on his arms, the name Kevin, a little devil and a Native American woman. There have been no other updates. 2. Levi Davis. Levi Davis disappeared on the 29th of October 2022 and was 24 years old. A little bit about Levi is that he was a British rugby union player. At the time of his disappearance, he played for the Worthing Raiders in the National League 2 South. He disappeared in Barcelona shortly after arriving in the city from Ibiza by boat. He had spent around 2 weeks with a friend in Barcelona. The day before, he was seen outside an Irish bar, the Old Irish Pub in the city centre, and his activity on his phone was as normal. He sent lots of voice notes and text messages. Contact was lost the next morning and no one has heard from him since. On the day Levi went missing, he sent his mum a video of the deck of a boat saying, "It's beautiful, mum." He was reported missing and Levi's family have said the investigation was really slow to start with, but the investigation soon focused on a port. Spanish police confirmed they found his passport, and after they did, they made a statement. They said, "I can confirm it was found in Barcelona port. I am not in any position to give out any more information on exactly where or when it was found." His phone and bank accounts also remain untouched since he disappeared. Spanish police said that they believe he had drowned, as there were reports from employees on a cruise ship seeing a man struggling in the water, but he was unable to be saved and was never recovered. Detectives have kept other lines of inquiry open. They previously said there were disturbing elements to the case. There are lots of theories, one due to an Instagram video posted on his stories after he vanished on February the 5th, 2023. The video emerges in which he claims he is being blackmailed. At this point, the investigation has been halted and there are no new leads. 3. David Wolstenhulme. David was 69 years old when he disappeared on the island of Serifals in June 2021. David was a very experienced walker and had gone out for a stroll with just enough euros to cover him for the day, but he never returned. On June 11th, he flew out from Manchester to Greece with his wife. They stayed in Athens before going to the island to celebrate a friend's birthday. On June 25th, he said he was going on a hike but never returned. His wife Heidi said that she became concerned when he didn't arrive home after 5 p.m, and she alerted the local authorities. A huge search operation was launched, but despite the help of locals, no trace of him has ever been found. His credit and debit cards have not been used since the day he disappeared. Heidi was David's wife of 40 years and she has her own theory. She said, "I just can't understand where he was going. I have this awful feeling that he's gone through the ground because there are some old mines in the area." She also said that David might not have stuck to paths, claiming that local authorities have not been wide enough in their search. There are no new updates. 4. Roger Bainbridge. Roger was 67 years old when he was last seen on the 30th of September 2013. On the day he disappeared, he took a boat trip to the Greek island of Antipaxos, which is a very, very small island. He had been staying at his sister's holiday home on the larger island of Paxos. He is an experienced walker and he's from the Lake District. He was wearing walking shoes, slate blue t-shirt and a navy blue rucksack. He had drinking water with him. He was last seen near the main village at the top at around 3 p.m. by some other walkers who had a conversation with him and walked with him a short way. He has no mobile phone with him. There were searches and the use of helicopters, but they unearthed nothing. His son said his father only had €50, no passport and no ID, so the idea of him being alive was unlikely. There have been no further updates. 5. Ben Needham. Ben was born on the 29th of October 1989. He disappeared at the age of 21 months old in Kos, Greece. He disappeared on July 24, 1991, while on holiday with his mother and grandparents. He was last seen playing near his grandparents' holiday home in the village and had been spotted in and around the farmhouse that the family was renovating before they realised he had disappeared at around 2:30 p.m. His mum was at work at the time he disappeared. The family had moved there to start a new life. At first, the family thought that Ben's older cousin had taken him out or he had wandered off locally, and they began to start searching. The police widened the search but did not find him or any clues. The police state they believe that Ben may have been accidentally crushed by a digger that was on the property as part of the renovation works. On July 25, 1991, a search of the hillside above the town began, but it was unsuccessful. There was also witness reports. Some claimed to have seen a boy matching Ben's description at the local airport on the day he went missing. In 1995, a blonde boy living in a gypsy camp was linked to Ben after claiming to have been abandoned by his biological parents. In 1996, a Greek prisoner claimed to know someone who was holding Ben. None of these leads were successful. In 2003, the Met Police released an image of what Ben may look like now at the age of 12 to 14. And in 2004, an anonymous businessman offered a $500,000 reward for information leading to Ben's safe return. In 2012, the UK police travelled to Greece to search an area they believed may contain Ben. In October 2012, South Yorkshire Police began to follow a line of inquiry which suggested that Ben had been accidentally killed and buried in a mound of rubble. The search failed to detect any remains or items belonging to Ben. In 2016, police received information that a man from Kos claimed a deceased digger operator told him that Ben had died in an accident and he hid his body. In September 2016, the police returned to carry out further excavations. Although Ben wasn't found, a yellow dinky car believed to have been Ben's was recovered. Detective Inspector John Cousins said, "It is my professional belief that Ben Needham died as a result of an accident near to the farmhouse in where he was last seen playing. The recovery of this item and its location further adds to my belief that material was removed from the farmhouse on or shortly after the day that Ben disappeared." In November 2018, British police said that blood found on the toy car was not Ben's. Most recently, a Danish man has come forward believing that he is Ben, and there is a wait on the DNA results of this. 6. Alexander Doughty. Alexander went missing on September the 11th, 2022 in Kingsland, Georgia, America. He was 30 years old. He took an Uber from Bay Street Bar and Grill, Jacksonville at 2 p.m, stopping at Callahan. He then got an Uber at around 5-6 p.m. to CarQuest. There have been some unconfirmed sightings of him that evening in and around that area. His phone was last online that evening of September the 11th at 6:52 p.m. Since then there has been no activity and he made no further contact with anyone from that time. Alex usually stayed in constant contact with his family, so for him to be missing this long with no contact is highly out of character for him. The last known footage of him is of the body cam by the Jacksonville police, and it's unknown why they showed up at the Bay Street Bar. He was actually in the United States to celebrate his 30th birthday. There is a $5,000 reward for information that leads to the location of Alex, but there has been no further updates. 7. Ian Mogford was 20 years old when he went missing on the 23rd of August 1996 in India. He went travelling in India. He was just 21 years old and had just finished his first year at Bristol University. He had gone to India with his girlfriend. Shortly before his disappearance, he left her to go trekking alone in the area of the Himalayas. On the 20th of August, Ian called his girlfriend. 3 days later, he spoke to his parents. He sounded happy on both occasions. But sadly, this was the last time Ian was heard from. His family were extremely anxious for news of Ian and urge anyone who may know something of his whereabouts to get in touch. They just want to know that Ian is alive, well and happy. He's described as 5'10" tall and is of medium build. 8. James Robinson. James has been missing since the 11th of May 2020 in Bulgaria. He was 35 years old at the time. At the beginning of 2020, he bought his dream home for just £4,000. But his family say it hadn't gone to plan. First, his house was badly damaged in a blaze caused by an old bird's nest catching fire, which forced him to have to live in a caravan while he began renovations. Then on May 10th, it seems that he had suffered a fall while carrying out those works. It's understood he was taken to hospital, where bruising to the brain was diagnosed, but after coming round the next day, he discharged himself against doctors' recommendations. He left in a taxi and hasn't been seen since. His passport, laptop and driving licence were all found in the caravan he had been staying in. It's believed he went to hospital with a woman, and Bulgarian and Merseyside police want to talk with her. He is described as white, slim, 5'11" with dark blonde hair. Unfortunately, there are no other leads. 9. Rem Kingston. Rem Kingston was 31 years old when he disappeared on the 22nd of March 2019. He travelled between Ibiza and Mallorca. It stated the port CCTV only shows the front of the boat, not the people coming off, so he may have stayed hidden. We have been out with the public in Palma, going to places we believe Rem may go, but it's a big place and we can't go everywhere. If people find him, they need to know to take him somewhere where they can help him and alert us. He worked as a tour guide in Luxembourg, where he lives with his girlfriend Natasha. At the time of his disappearance, he had been holidaying with his mother. Police believe he may have disembarked in Palma, Ibiza or Valencia from the ferry after becoming paranoid, fearful and untrusting of other people. He may have been scared and hid. There has been no other leads. 10. Gary Burns. Gary was 39 years old when he went missing while working in the resort of İçmeler in Turkey. He went missing on the 12th of August 2016. He moved to Turkey 8 years prior after falling in love with a Turkish woman, and while there always kept in contact with his family. He failed to make contact with his family on Christmas, which was very out of character. His friends were due to visit him in Turkey and were unable to find him. The family believe he had his life taken. They have since been told by 2 separate witnesses that the bar worker had lost his life, including one chilling message on Facebook that claimed, "He's dead, he's in the sea." Gary's brother, Terry, said that they had experienced numerous setbacks when attempting to deal with the authorities in Turkey, leaving the relatives to do the bulk of the investigative work themselves. He said, "We're learning all this as we're going along. We're going to pursue every avenue we can, but every time we get somewhere, it feels like we take 1 step forward and 3 steps back." One witness told the family Gary owed a Turkish man money and couldn't pay him, so he was working and trying to get this money. She said on August 21st he was in the bar. He was drunk and they took him to a remote area before burying him in the hills. "We knew something was wrong because it's been a year and he hasn't got in touch." They said that the police said there isn't any more they can do as there's no evidence and the police aren't investigating it. There are no further leads. 11. Christian Velten. Christian Velten travelled to Africa to retrace the steps of Scottish explorer Mungo Park. The 27-year-old went missing in Mali on the 23rd of March 2003. Christian was originally from Brighton and had been travelling mainly on foot following the path of the river Niger. On March 23, 2003, he called his parents Tim and Pauline to wish them happy birthdays. It was the last time they ever heard from him. Despite searches by local police, private investigators hired by his parents and a team of Sussex police detectives in 2004, there has been no sign of what happened to Christian, and unfortunately there have been no further leads. 12. David Wood. David Wood disappeared on August 2nd, 2016 in the Tyne Valley region of the Alps, France. He had 2 children and was 61 years old. He was a computer engineer and was spending the 6 weeks of summer with his wife Valerie in that region. They've stayed around the area for the summers since 2010. On the morning of August 2nd, 2016, Dave set off to walk part of the mountain route between the village of Marie in the Alps and Clans, a small town to the south. The weather was fine that day. It's said to be a non-demanding and straightforward valley hike near the river, surrounded by forests, and one that David enjoyed most days, walking as far as he could manage before turning back. The route does include some sheer drops, rocky patches and a number of rivers if you venture away. David was in good health apart from mild hypertension and a brief episode of an inner ear infection. Rather than take tablets, he decided to get fit and had been on walks every day in the lead up to his disappearance. He's described as having a full head of curly white hair and was wearing a sturdy pair of walking boots, a bright orange cap, beige linen trousers, sunglasses and a brown t-shirt. He was also using 2 walking poles to help him walk. He had gone for about an hour when his wife Valerie first called his mobile to see where he was. Nothing seemed wrong and he said he was on his way back about half an hour away. Half an hour passed and she rang again at around 2:15 p.m. He told her he was tired and taking a rest. Again, he said he was about half an hour away. Valerie said he was supposed to be back by 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Since he had a conference call with the US booked, he had to be back. It is completely odd that he went so far. That was the last time the couple spoke. After that, David's phone rang without an answer. He had been carrying 2 phones, an English iPhone and a French mobile. It was the latter that he used for the call. David was reported missing by his wife when he failed to reappear at his holiday home. A large search by the police department lasted 10 days and included police, ABSEL teams, hundreds of local volunteers, sniffer dogs and a helicopter. Although the investigations established that a couple on a motorbike had seen Wood on the path to Clans when he had stopped to ask them directions to Marie on August 2nd at around 1:30 to 1:45 p.m. He had been heading the opposite way. The couple later said he seemed so confused. That was the last time anyone ever saw him. No sign of David Woods has ever been found. 13. Timothy MacColl. On May 27, 2012, 27-year-old British sailor Timothy stepped out of a cafe in Dubai and took a cab for Port Rashid, where his warship HMS Westminster was docked. He was never seen again. In April 2014, he was officially declared dead, presumed drowned by the UK's Royal Navy. Despite objections from his family, they said, "We still haven't got closure. I believe there are people who know what happened to Timmy. I do not believe he fell in the water as there was a safety net around his ship." His shipmates said he was headed to the ship, but never made it on board. The Royal Navy reported him missing the same day. An investigation was launched by Dubai police and UK authorities. Hours of CCTV footage was examined. The taxi driver who picked Timothy up was questioned, and the port area was searched by divers, dogs and a helicopter for days, but the manhunt had no results. A British Royal Navy minesweeper equipped with high-tech cameras and sensors was pressed into service along the coastline, but nothing turned up. In April 2014, Timothy was declared dead by the UK Royal Navy. They believe he fell into the sea while boarding the ship. However, his body was never found and his mother says she's yet to get closure. There are no other leads. 14. Edward Cook. Edward Cook was 46 years old when he went missing in Spain on the 24th of April 2011. The last person to see him was his daughter. He had been living in Alicante, near Benidorm, for 2 years. She had spent the week at a water park with him and enjoying various other activities. She said he was happy and normal. They said their goodbye at the airport and he promised to be back in the UK for her big day, her communion. He would talk to his daughter every day, but all contact stopped and he has never been heard from or seen since. He had been staying at a campsite in Benidorm and was also known to regularly frequent Marbella. He also had connections to Dublin in Ireland. He's described as white, 5'10" with a tanned complexion, short brown hair, blue eyes and a Scouse accent. There have been no other updates. 15. Matthew Jackson. Matthew Jackson was 18 years old when he disappeared in Tenerife on the 18th of December 2009. He was on holiday there with his girlfriend Amy, who was also 18. They were walking back to their room at the Pearly Grey Ocean Club Hotel. Matthew ran ahead of Amy and hopped over a small wall, probably to hide and jump out on her. She carried on the 60 metres to their apartment to wait for him, but he never showed up, and he hasn't been seen since. The police interviewed everyone in the village, but nobody had seen him, so they are treating him as a missing person at sea. His mum said "My only hope is that he is wandering around with concussion somewhere and somebody would spot him. His family say he's mature for his age and would not have gone absent without leave from the army. There have been no further updates. 16. Derek Cross. Derek Cross was 26 years old when he disappeared on the 15th of November 1996. He was on holiday in Benidorm with a group of friends. His friends last saw him in the early hours of November 15th, making his way to his hotel. Police were unable to confirm reports that he has since been seen on a holiday island of Ibiza or joining the French Foreign Legion. Because Derek has been missing for so long, he could now officially be declared dead. But the police have said his file would never be closed and any new lines of inquiry would be investigated. He's described as 5'9" with brown hair and blue eyes. He has a birthmark on his top lip. There have been no other updates. 17. Melody O'Gara. Melody was 28 years old when she went missing in Sydney, Australia on the 25th of October 2004. On the 24th of October, she left a friend's house in Sydney, but failed to return home to the King's Cross area of the city where she lived. Although her handbag was later found near Bondi Beach, Melody was due to visit Cambodia and Vietnam the following day, but she has not been heard from since. She also failed to catch 2 pre-booked flights the following week. A major search was launched. Her father, Hugh, flew out to Sydney to help in the hunt for his daughter. Australian police believe that Melody may have taken her own life, although she has never been found. Her handbag was found on a cliff edge. There was also a witness statement saying they saw a woman matching her description near the place her handbag was found. A spokesman for Sydney's King Cross Police said the case has not been closed because Melody has never been found, but we do believe she may have taken her own life. Her family say she had been depressed during her time in Australia, but they could not believe she would take her own life. Unfortunately, there has been no further updates. 18. Wendy Whitehead was 44 years old when she disappeared from the Netherlands on the 26th of December 2001. Wendy last had a phone call with her father on December 26, 2001. She claimed to have had a fight with her boyfriend, Steve, and expressed her desire to leave him. When her father suggested she returned home to England, she claimed she could not. She told him she was afraid of a big, dark man. After Wendy failed to contact her father on Father's Day, he reported her missing. Wendy's father is very suspicious of her boyfriend, Steve, who is also British, as he did not report her disappearance. Steve claims he was not home when she left and assumed she had returned to England. The clothing and personal belongings Wendy abandoned were seized by the police. Wendy and Steve had a volatile relationship. Police were called several times to a flat they lived in. On one occasion, Wendy actually attacked Steve. To some who lived nearby, they were the neighbours from hell. Steve denies having anything to do with Wendy's disappearance. He recognises that in hindsight, he should have reported her absence to the police. He said, "I wasn't expecting Wendy not to be around for this length of time. I left it and one day went into another and it never got done." Police were only alerted some 4 months later. Wendy never really settled in Holland. She struggled with the language and eventually landed a job that she didn't like. In her last contact with her family, she was very frightened and unhappy. She disappeared, leaving most of her possessions behind. Her passport had gone, but her bank accounts remain untouched. There are no further leads. 19. Yvonne Heys. Yvonne was 51 years old when she went missing on the 25th of July 2003 in Rhodes. She was on holiday with a close friend on the Greek island. She said she was going for a swim. She arranged to meet her friend later, but never showed up. She is a very good swimmer and she loved swimming. She could have gone for a walk. She was on medication at the time, but she was okay with that. 2 days later, her friend left after a day on the beach to go to a laundrette. Yvonne said she was going for a swim and they arranged to meet half an hour later, but she never turned up. She has suffered from psychiatric problems in the past and takes regular medication, which she does not have with her. There have been no further updates. 20. Louise Kerton. Louise Kerton was from Kent. She went missing in Germany in July 2001 at the age of 24. Her boyfriend, Peter, was half German, and she went over to stay with Peter's family in Germany near Bonn for 5 weeks after failing her nursing exams. Her boyfriend Peter travelled to the UK 2 days before her. Peter's mother, Ramona, said she dropped Louise off at a train station on the 30th of July 2001. Louise had planned to take the train and then travel to Dover back to the UK. German police treated her disappearance as routine. They received unconfirmed reports that she was living in a hostel for the homeless. Louise's family believes that the authorities were slow to act as she was 24 and therefore considered an adult. He said her disappearance was out of character. Louise's family hired private investigators and they criticised Peter's family. The Simon family denied having anything to do with her disappearance. Louise's family said they were failed to cooperate with the police and had lots of inconsistencies in their statements. As of late 2010, German police closed the case. There have been no further leads. 21. Katrice Lee. Katrice Lee was 2 years old when she went missing on November 28, 1981 in West Germany. As of July 2024, it's been over 40 years since her whereabouts were known. Her father, Richard Lee, was a sergeant major in the British Army and they were stationed in West Germany. On November 28th, it was Katrice's second birthday and the family decided to go to a nearby shopping complex. Katrice's elder sister Natasha decided that she didn't want to go shopping. Her aunt Wendy and her mother Sharon took Katrice instead. While shopping with her mother and auntie, Katrice decided she did not want to ride in the trolley, so she was carried around the supermarket by her mother, Sharon. Sharon placed her down at the checkout, and she briefly left to purchase some crisps before she realised that Katrice was missing. Her aunt Wendy thought Katrice had followed her mother down the aisle, but she had vanished. Katrice is described as having curly light brown hair, brown eyes, a pink birthmark slightly to the right of the base of her spine. At the time of her disappearance, she was wearing red Wellington boots, a turquoise duffel coat, a green and blue tartan pinafore dress with frills around the shoulder, a white blouse underneath and white tights. Both military and civilian police believe Katrice had fallen into a nearby river, but she was never discovered. The German police refused to go to the press, and it was 6 weeks before an item appeared in the local newspaper. The investigation produced little result, and despite dredging the river and conducting house-to-house inquiries, no trace of Katrice was found. In September 2019, a man living in Swindon, England, was arrested in connection with her disappearance, but he was released without charge. There have been no further leads. And that concludes our video today. If you have any information, please contact missingpeople.org. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time.